Hey guys, Juti here with another Tekken 7 video, and welcome to my new series, Tekken Troubles. So instead of doing the lengthy, in-depth character guides I used to, I've now decided to do shorter, situational anti-character guides, and what better character to start off with than Lei Wulong with his Razor Rush. So without further ado, let's get into it. So, first things first, let me clarify some misconceptions regarding Razor Rush, and that is, some people tend to think that this high crushes because he goes a bit low whilst he's doing the punches, but in reality this works just like Peekaboo stance from Steve. It doesn't actually go under high, so don't worry. The other thing a lot of people will tell you is, well, if there's a bit of distance between you and Lei before he starts it, why don't you just power crush? But as you can see, that's not always the ideal situation to be in, especially if he goes for the low, because then your power crush is nullified and you have no damage on Lei whatsoever to show for it. So now it's about time I tell you the truth regarding Razor Rush, and that is, in most situations, even with all of the variations and transitions into other stances, the pressure coming from it is mostly fake and it's actually your turn and not his. But he gives you the illusion that it's now his turn to mix you up with whatever stance he sees fit. Let's look at the full thing for starters. So let's say Lei goes for forward neutral 1-2, 1-2, 4, which is the mid kick ender. Or he goes for the low ender, so he replaces the 4 with the 3. The thing about this is that it's a genuine mix-up. You have to guess. I wouldn't even attempt crouch guarding, and the reason is simple. The low doesn't do enough damage. And to top it off, even if it connects, Lei is at -6 on hits. Yes, you heard that right. So it's your turn and not his turn. The other thing you should take away is that this variation of Razor Rush is the only time Lei cannot transition into another stance, so keep that in mind. So now you ask yourself, what happens if he goes for the mid variant? Well, if you block it, he is at -9, so it's your turn, definitely not his. You ask yourself, okay, what happens if he transitions with that cool sidestep into crane stance? Well, guess what? He's still at -9, it's your turn. So your go-to tool for this is that if your character has like a generic tool like down forward 1, a quick mid with some slight homing, you can keep him in check all the time, and also for most of the other variations. But for now, let's look at the most common option at beginner to intermediate level, and that is Lei doing forward neutral 1-2, 1-2, and then transitioning into tiger stance. The reason Lei players at that level like to use the tiger stance is it seems like he has his most devastating mix-up out of it. Being the 2-2 launcher, which is safe on block. However, the second is actually a high and you can duck it. It looks a bit deceptive. Of course, the low can get you. However, just like with what we talked about before, it's still your turn when he transitions into tiger stance, so shut down everything with a well-timed down forward 1. The only time he can enforce this 50-50, however, is on counter hit. So what I mean by that is, if the first hit of Razor Rush connects on counter hit, all 4 punches are guaranteed. That means that when he transitions into tiger stance, you have to eat the mix-up. So just make sure you're not pressing buttons when he does Razor Rush. So the same thing applies to the other variations of Razor Rush. So the 3 hits, the 3 punches into Panther stance, the 2 punches into Dragon stance, and the 1 punch into Snake stance. It's your turn if you block. If you get hit, it's his turn. So just make sure you're blocking Razor Rush, and you shouldn't really have too much of a problem. Well, you may have a problem when it comes to better Lei players, and the reason is that they will use Razor Rush very sparingly. And when they do, they will vary the timing of the Razor Rush itself, because each punch is delayable. So they'll make sure to keep you guessing like that, and maybe they won't even transition into a stance. Maybe they'll just delay the transition and then go for a sidestep. They'll keep you guessing to mess up your timing for your down forward 1, and then just when you don't expect it, they will actually mix you up. So just like with all things, make sure you go to practice mode so that you really get the timing and your reactions down to shut down Lei when he's doing these things. Well, that brings us to the end of the video. If you like the video, leave a like. And of course, yeah, there'll be more such videos. Maybe we'll be dealing with Anna's Chaos Judgment stance, her roll stance into mix-ups, maybe even Steve's unblockable situation. Anyway, there's more to come, so subscribe to the Juti Gaming channel.